Not yet, quite, almost. 9 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. It's that time of the day, March 13th, time for our weekly Cottington County Board of Commissioners meeting to convene, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Cindy, you want to lead us this week?
Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As usual, the housekeeping chores. If you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. If you get a call that you need to take, please step out in the rotunda and answer it. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you approach the commission, you certainly will be on the streamed computer event. That being said,
Make a motion to approve
we have a
the
motion
agenda.
to approve the agenda.
Second.
By Hanton and a second by Gable.
Van Duzen.
Van Duzen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. How about the minutes
Move
of
to
the
approve
March 6th
as
meeting?
emailed.
We have a motion by Hanton, a second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Number 4 on the agenda is action to approve a plat resolution. James and Marlis Mercy Edition and Czech Third Edition, both of these properties are in Sheridan Township, and Luke has them. And we acted on this about a week ago at our planning and zoning meeting.
Correct.
And we'll need two separate motions for two separate plats.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
She'll pass these out third grade style.
See if we can succeed.
So wait, did I give you?
Yeah, I've got, yeah, I've got that one.
You get that one.
Thanks.
You get that one.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning. Which one want to take first?
Let's talk Jim and Marla, or James
Yep.
and Marla's Mercy Edition first.
It's a,
These two plats, as you indicated, are, well, they're tied together, to be perfectly honest. You can see James and Marla's Mercy Edition is in the northeast quarter of section 15 of Sheridan Township, and the same thing with Czech Third Edition. But what we have here, this is a conforming lot, 60 acres, and really all that's happening, if you look at that plat drawing, is that there's an old railroad right away, and ultimately what's happening is Mercy's had that right away, or at least there was a title out there to try and keep that figured out. They're just cleaning up a title by doing this. The railroad right away will now be platted. A portion of it goes to Czech Third Edition to the north, and then James and Marlis Mercy Edition doesn't have the railroad right away with it. So again, Planning Commission recommended approval of this plat. I'll basically repeat the same comments for Czech Third Edition in just a second.
I'll make a
We have a
motion
motion
to
by Hatton
approve the Marlis.
to approve the plat.
James and Marlis Mercy.
Second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? You all see that little strip that we're referring to? You see that?
yeah.
Okay, any discussion other than that? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's look at the Czech edition, which is the same deal.
Yep, so, and I guess I didn't point out, section 15, for those of you following along in your plat books at home, is southeast of Walmart, probably the best way to say it, straight south on the Bureau Road, south of Highway 212, 2 miles is where that's at. So I'm just going to give you an idea where these are. But yes, again, same story. It's cleaning up and straightening out who owns this portion of the railroad right away. You can see that little pipe stem is included in check third edition where it is not in James and Marlis Mercy edition. Again, recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Luke.
Sure. With a little attitude, I just wanted to point one thing out, just kind of as a report from our office. Maybe two things. One, we had a long work session meeting last night. Got to a point of a draft for the wind energy ordinance that'll come for public hearing to the Planning Commission. The intent and expectation is that that's going to be at the regular April meeting is where we would have the public hearing on that, which at this point is April 16th. I don't want to indicate that is not going to change, but right now the intent is that we would do it at the regular April meeting. And then at that point, then after a recommendation, I don't plan on publishing any sort of notice for the County Commission public hearing until after the recommendation, because if there's amendments or something, I don't want to have a wrong draft out there. And so we'd go first reading here to follow, in which there'd be no comments. We've been told by a judge that we can't accept comments at that time, and then we would do a public hearing and second reading with the County Commission. And so and at that point, I don't have a timeline on when you would come in here, but it would be as soon as we can get notices and everything done. The other thing that I was just going to point out from an office standpoint, as far as some things that we've had going on, this time of year, things are starting to ramp up a little bit more. We're getting more and more building permit requests and more inquiries than anything. I've sent out a few letters on just kind of some enforcement, trying to get some things put to bed, some old issues. And so some of that is going on. But out of our office, we're still Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 11. The days that we have meetings, generally I'm not in the office because that time goes towards the meeting time. Although with these special meetings, I have been in those days. The other thing that I do need to point out is there is a project through our other office that I've been working on that does have me out of the office one Wednesday a week. So if you hear from someone going, he's never around, well, partly that's the schedule, but also there has been one Wednesday a week I haven't been around. Plus, I had some vacation time I had to burn. So, and then the last thing I wanted to point out is a year ago we had a lot of conversations about, there are a lot of people curious wanting, if you have, are we having large feedlots, you need to notify the board immediately if there is one. I just want to point out, we don't have any of those large feedlot requests. I haven't had any of those in that amount of time, but I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we've had a lot of local guys with some of these operations that are around 1,000 animal units that have come in and asked. I believe last year, what did we issue? I think 3 permits to local individuals that have had between 1,000 and 2,000 animal units. And then we had the Zemlica request that you heard about last week that'll wind up being back on the board for this meeting, which, as it turns out, works out okay because we kicked the can down the road on a haul road agreement. It's not like it was planned to do it that way, but in the same breath, it does allow that opportunity to do it. So just kind of want to let you know, there are people doing things, but for the most part, it's what we heard 3 years ago at this time, which was what we heard for comments at one of the larger dairy hearings was they would rather see these companies going out and spreading smaller operations around local individuals rather than bringing new groups in and doing things. And what we've been seeing is just that over the last couple of years. That's not to say we won't ever have someone ask to do something large, but I'm just pointing out that hasn't been happening. What we've been having is smaller, the 1,000 animal unit range so far up to 2,000. So
I have no insight. All I have is an assumption that with the announcement of Lake Norden making a major expansion to their plant, their cheese plant down there, they need, I think, a lot more cows. I know, and so that kind of trickles down to planning and zoning.
yeah, so like I said, I didn't want to leave you in the dark as far as what we've been getting. It's not the large ones, but in the same breath, we have done 3 to 4 permits in the last year. They've been
And I would just reiterate that those that we did were primarily expansions by young farmers, young producers out there that did them right, and in many cases, they brought their neighbors with them to support them. So it made it a lot easier for us. Yeah, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of questions. Well, one, I wanted to compliment the Planning and Zoning Board on plowing through a 5-hour meeting last night that I was privileged to witness.
Privileged.
Yeah.
Note that.
But the other, on the next, so basically what happened for so everybody understands what happened, you basically came up with the next draft of the wind part of the ordinance. And so that's what that was about, as a public information session. And I thought it was well run. Bob did a good job, and with Luke at his right hand helping get through all that. But the question I had is when is that next draft going to be ready, or is that, not to put you under?
April 16th, is that when that meeting is? Yeah.
No, it would be, at the latest, it would be April 6th.
Okay.
We would have it at least 10 days ahead of time. I am going to, as soon as it is ready, I'm going to put it online, because even if it's not, this is one of those I want to have out there as long as we can. In the same breath, I'm not going to guarantee any turnaround, because I won't look at it until after our regular meeting next week. So, but after that, then I think we'll probably put it online, get it out there so we're ready. The other thing that I think is related to the zoning office as a whole and the ordinance rewrite update information is the fact that as we're doing this, going through this process, we had obviously identified over the first 9 months of going through getting public comment, there were some issues that rose to the top as some of the more controversial issues than others, and some of them were things that just came through policy and working on. What we've done is the administrative section was not necessarily one that a ton of people wanted to be involved in or had noted that. So that's why it's on the agenda and it's been recommended for approval, which we'll have at this board very soon. Wind energy was one of those that people wanted to have information on. That's why that is being taken on its own piece. The main thing, one of the things that we learned a year ago was that we don't want to have the entire ordinance balled into one thing. And so these ones that we're talking about as being controversial and by a lot of folks, those are going to be taken on an individual basis. So that's going to be wind, that's going to be a residential component, and that's going to be the concentrated animal feeding operation ordinance. And so those things will be taken individually as we can work on them, and we expect them to take.
Just for clarification, one more time on the wind ordinance, we're not going to hold your feet to this, but the next scheduled planning board meeting is April 16th. At that time, we will take public input. Okay, then following that, it'll be scheduled to come to the commission. And that will be a public meeting at that time, correct, as well?
At the second reading, it will be.
Yeah,
Oh, not, the first reading is not a public meeting,
Right,
that's
right.
correct. That's exactly why I'm doing this,
Yeah,
make certain. And that the first meeting, we will not take any public
Right,
input.
right.
And that's where we got into trouble with
Yep.
the last, we did. And I know there'll be people out there that we know sitting right here in the front row that will want to talk, and we'll just say, no, you can't. That's all there is to it. Just to give them a heads up.
It might be good to make just a slide about the events, how they, step one, step two.
Well, we will at the planning commission,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
So that they understand it, because it was brought up last night, one of the individuals there had asked, and the chairman did point out those steps in hour
Yeah.
1 of 5, and so that I'm sure got glossed over by folks, and so what I'll do is I'll put a tentative time frame. I'm not going to do this where we say, well, it'll be about this time when we go to that. We'll have an actual timeline with that.
And the public input part is really not a legally mandated part of the process, but it's something we're doing as a.
Other way around, the public input that we just completed
Right.
is not a mandated
Right,
process.
right.
Now we're getting to the part that's
The public hearings are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting now to the part that's publicly required. What we've been doing is not required.
But it's a good process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just, so there aren't those issues, wouldn't it almost be simpler, and if you notice it, to do public hearings on both the readings?
I suppose we could do that. A lot of times it winds up being that we get a lot of repeat information though, if we do public hearings at both. The other thing that could possibly done is a combination sort of a meeting, but really we want to run as little risk of running afoul of state law as we possibly can. I'm not going to shut the door on that idea, though, but we will, we'll revisit that between now and then.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, one
Yeah.
last question. So for on the second reading and the public hearing, so because you have a public hearing, in theory, we could propose an amendment at the last minute and take action. Is that how that would work? Or
No, what would wind up having to happen, if you propose an amendment, the proper procedure on that, now there's a state law, basically you can make a text change essentially if it's not substantial and that is in the eyes of the beholder. But what I would recommend based on what has changed in state law and court cases that we've had out there is that if you propose an amendment, what you would do is you would have a motion on the amendment, and then at that point you would postpone it until a public hearing could be held at the Planning Commission to vote on that amendment.
Yeah.
Is what you would do, because it's gone to the point where if there's an amendment made by the county commission, it should have been heard by the Planning Commission. Now, don't get me wrong, you do have the ability to make some amendments, but at this point, we get into a couple of terms that are very loosely defined in state law, and again, then we want to go back to, let's make sure we do this once. And so, if we do that, then what I would say is you would propose an amendment if it's substantially different, and then immediately say postpone until the Planning Commission holds a public hearing on this item, and then you would hold a public hearing on that one.
So basically
amendment.
causing the cycle again.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to number 5, monthly reports. Cindy, auditor.
We are still taking petitions, nominating petitions for the June election. There has been a little bit of a change in our June primary. There is now a statewide ballot issue that's going to be on the ballot, which means that everyone will be entitled to vote on that portion of the ballot. So we could be handling 2 or 3 different ballots at each precinct. I'm not sure if a Democrat primary is in the works or not yet. I haven't seen anything or I haven't heard anything. But so that could, if I'm going to have more ballots, different kind of ballots at each precinct, it may change the way I normally set up my election boards for a primary. I may need to, I like to consolidate those because primaries are easy to, they're not heavy turnouts. But with a ballot issue on there, it could change that. I may have to change how I normally set up my precincts, which could cost the county a little bit more money. The legislature has appropriated, I think, $200,000 to accommodate the counties for our extra costs associated with putting this issue on the June primary. That would cover extra election workers, and we have to publish the full text of this ballot issue in both of our legal newspapers, so it'd cover things like that. One of my clerks and I will be traveling to Mitchell tomorrow. We were supposed to go a week ago yesterday to a training, and that was canceled because of they had a blizzard down in Mitchell. So we'll be going to that tomorrow. And other than that, it's just normal day-to-day business. We will have, I am short-staffed because of a clerk that is out on leave until the end of April. And there are a number of things going on this week that will leave my office a little bit short-staffed. A couple of times there will only be one person in the office, so bear with us.
All right,
And Shauna is unavailable today,
okay,
so she will not be here to report.
all right. Let's go to number 6 then, action to approve the auditor's account with the treasurer. I know the register of deeds fees, and that's in your packet, those numbers.
This report shows the cash and cash items on hand as of the last day of February 2018, shows you where our money is deposited and our general ledger cash balances. And the register of deeds fees collected in the month of February were $32,984, with $2,100 of that sent to the state of South Dakota for various fees.
Move to approve those.
A motion to
Account.
approve,
I'll second.
motion by Hinton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, the motion carries. Let's go to number 7. Action to approve claims for payment, and that's in your packet as well. And we have several that are highlighted this time.
Total claims to be paid are $862,756.89. And of that amount, approximately $460,000 goes to the state of South Dakota for various fees that we collect and send on. This month, we are paying 2 different insurance premiums. One is with EMC Insurance, and that is for all of our physical structures and our inland marine property, which includes items that need to be insured that are not vehicles, you know, like my new election equipment. All of those have to have special insurance. Anything over $1,000 is basically what we have on there. So a lot of search and rescue equipment is on there. A number of other motor graders go on this type of insurance. And then the SDPAA is the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. That is our liability insurance on employees, plus our auto insurance and our law enforcement insurance. So we are paying those premiums this month out of several different budgets. Other than that, that does take up most of the things out of the ordinary this time. I thought we had a couple of other things that I was going to point out. But actually, that is basically the out of the ordinary stuff this month, unless anybody has any questions on something they saw.
All right, any questions for Cindy?
That EMC insurance, Cindy, how often is that paid?
Once.
That's
that,
annual.
That's once a year,
It's
okay.
annual, and our local agents for that are Fisher Rounds.
Okay.
But the sheriff has a separate account, I guess, or a separate policy, is that?
There is a law enforcement policy, but that falls under the
Yes.
South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. They have their auto insurance, and then they also have a law enforcement policy that we pay to Public Assurance Alliance.
All right, motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion by Van Dusen,
Second.
second by Gable. Any discussion? We're like everybody else, insurance board, but you have to have it. That's the way it is. Seeing no more discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to Delta Dental, and that's in your packet as well. They have the new price increase there a little bit anyway. Cindy, you want to bring us up?
So we need to take action. Do you want to keep the Delta Dental insurance for employees? The single rate is going up $1.18. Two-party rate is going up $2.12, and the family insurance is going up $3.10 per month. They have limited our rate increase to 3% this year. And then we also, at this time, besides approving the insurance, we also approve the split. The county currently pays the full single premium. We pay half of the two-party. No, we pay the single rate applied to the two-party, and we pay half of the family insurance. So for the single, the county pays $40.48. For the two-party, the county pays $40.48. The employee pays the remainder of that $72.88. And then for the family insurance, which is $106.10, it's a 50-50 split.
All right, you heard the recommendation, motion?
I'll make that
We have
motion.
a motion by Hatton to go with the current split, or the split that
Yeah.
we've had, and is that right?
Yes, rate increase and the split.
Okay,
as we
and
currently
we have a
have.
second by Waterman. Any more discussion?
Another note, this is the 38th year that the county has been with Delta Dental.
30 years,
38
38 years.
38 years,
Wow.
correct.
All right, any more discussion? Anything else? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go to number 9 then, action to approve request form and fee for electronic property tax file. And there is a page in your packet, and Carol is going to fill us in on this.
Right, what we want to do is we just want to formalize how we release our real estate tax records. This document pretty much I lifted from Lincoln County, so what it is we just want to clarify that it is a public record that we're releasing. It's not anything that's confidential in any way, but we do want them to understand that we're not going to have everything pre-programmed or changed because they want it in a certain way. This is the way the county provides their records, and they can either work with it or not. We're recommending it not be a commercial venture for them. But so that's what the document you have in front of you is about. And then the other thing is to provide for a fee for this file, which I'm recommending at this time to be set at $250. So it's set, and we're not changing it on
that a
$250 annually.
Right, it's
One
$250
time.
annually. What that will get them is it'll get them a full, complete file, and then also on a monthly basis, as requested, they'll get a complete list of our delinquent files. The companies that use this are tax research companies, CoreLogic, Loretta, Wells Fargo, and what we do is we provide them a complete listing of what the taxes are, so that when they're paying their customers' taxes, they're paying the right amounts. It used to be they'd send us a list, we'd manually fill it out. Well, when they got it back, they couldn't read what we wrote, or they divided it wrong, or there were issues. So what we did is a few years ago went to providing them with a file so that, and their payments are like spot on. So.
You
All
say
right.
$250 annual, Carol, is that? Is that
Right, like a
from-
subscription, like the director.
Okay,
does,
so whenever they decide to get on board, it's 1 year from that period of time then?
Right.
Okay.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gable, second by Commissioner Hatton. Any more discussion?
Just one question, Mr. Chairman. So does it need to say the price in this document, or is that a?
I didn't include this price on here, the idea being that if it does change,
Yeah.
Have to revamp.
we're not having to redraft the document. In here, it says that the cost of all computer-generated records is paid in full, and then we'll
Okay.
just advise them as to what the fee
So
is.
do you keep like a treasurer's price schedule, that has all that?
You guys are setting that
That's
right
a-
now.
I know,
That's
I
what-
get,
that's
what the
I know
minutes
for this,
will-
but I mean for all the different things that treasurers charge.
This
money
certainly
for.
will be an asset to those that are using it. This will make it very, very easy for them to use. All right, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on to 10, and we have our state's attorney here, and the request is for authorization for hiring a new clerical staff, correct?
That's correct. One of our office staff, Barb Maxwell, has announced that she'll be retiring at the end of May. And so we would like to move forward with the process of looking for a replacement.
Okay, you heard the request.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Van Dusen, a second by Waterman. Any discussion? And that person would come aboard then in 1st of May as well? Or as soon as possible
1st
afterwards?
of May or 15th of May, somewhere in there, just depending on.
According to the payroll,
Is
right?
this a
Right,
full-time
correct.
position?
It'll be, yep, we're replacing a full-time position with a full-time position.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky, will you be available for executive session? Yeah. The Colonial Life representatives won't be here until 10, so we can move forward, and I believe Becky has an executive session request that you can take before that time also.
Okay, note is simply just a matter of noting that Easter Monday, the courthouse will be closed. That's in conjunction with following the state.
Our policy is to follow the state, yes.
And do we have any automatic?
Yeah, we do have two automatic supplements today.
All right.
The first one is in the amount of $207.92, and this will be supplemented to the emergency management budget. This is POD grant reimbursement funds for expenses they had for the POD clinic last fall. We didn't pay these expenses until January, so we're going to reimburse the emergency management budget. And then we also have a reimbursement to the highway budget in the amount of $1,271.49 from the Progressive Insurance Company, and that was for the cost of moving the highway superintendent's radio equipment from the total vehicle to the new vehicle.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Personnel changes, we have several of them
We have a
today.
number of personnel changes. The first one is Christy Gass from the Sheriff's Office. She is the Criminal Civil Records Management. She's due an anniversary step increase to step 11, $23.32 an hour. Kathy Young is the Criminal Civil Support Coordinator in the Sheriff's Office. She's due her anniversary step increase to step 12, $21.02 per hour. Becky Goins is the Extension Office Coordinator. She's due her anniversary step increase to step 12, $21.09 an hour. Kim Johnson is the Extension Deputy Office Coordinator. She's due her annual step increase to step 6, $17.96 an hour. And we have Julie Galliseth, who was a part-time correctional officer who was promoted to full-time to replace a correctional officer who recently resigned. She'll be at step 3, $18.68 an hour.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I don't see any travel requests.
None today.
All right, let's go on to old business. Do we have any mature business to look at?
Mr. Chairman, a couple of
Yes,
things
yes.
on the CCJAC Justice Facility. So we had the next CCJAC meeting scheduled for March 27th. However, Watertown Healthy Youth Coalition is doing a, I think you guys talked about it on the radio. Yeah, public presentation on the kind of the threat of youth addiction at LATI at 5:30 that night. So we wanted to support that, encourage that event. So we're looking at a new date. I think the new date for the CCJAC meeting will be April the 5th, but I'll confirm that by next week, or look for an email. And then we talked about last week the bid process, the advertisement, and the bid opening process for the courthouse from Model. We had said that was going to be, the opening of the bids was going to be the 10th of April. However, that day, and I talked to the architects again about what time of day is the best, and they really think the afternoon is probably more likely to be a more competitive bid opening. And so, but that afternoon, or that day at noon, we have our
County
appeal.
County Board of Equalization will be at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, April 10th.
So we scheduled the bid opening for Wednesday, April 11th at about 2:05. So the
2:05.
bids would be due at 2, and then shortly after that, we'd start opening them. And that's all going to be in the ad for bid. And so the first ad will go out in the first paper. We have to do our 2 official papers first. Is going to be this Thursday, because this Thursday is when that particular paper
Yes.
publishes.
South
And
Shore
then-
Gazette will publish this Thursday, the Watertown Public Opinion this Saturday. It'll be in the Aberdeen American News, I know, on the 19th, and then also the Fargo Forum and the Argus Leader also next week.
And those are places where plan rooms are located. And so, and then
Let's go back through those dates one more time.
So CCJAC meeting, probably April 5th, but I'll confirm that. Okay, so moved from the March 27th to April 5th. Bid opening April 11th
At 2
at
o'clock
2 o'clock, yeah.
here.
Yeah,
And equalization?
Is
the 10th.
the 10th. We're required by law to meet on the 10th of April. Normally, we do that at 1 p.m. after
And
the board.
Consolidated will be that evening.
Consolidated board will be that evening. I don't know if that's at 6:30 or 7 yet, but
Not sure either.
it'll be at City Hall.
And then that could also be the 17th.
There could
as
be
well.
extra meetings if you can't get through the whole agenda, so yes.
Yeah.
Keep the
I would
17th
be
open.
And
When you go to your spring workshop this week, I believe the Department of Revenue is putting on a class on tips for County Board of Equalization that would be good for you to attend, get some additional information.
On April 5th, I will be in Pierre for the South Dakota retirement meeting.
And then we, just one last thing on the bidding process. So we'll also have the ad for bids, a more detailed version than what's in the paper, on our website and available at the auditor's office. It's just a few pages as opposed to one page to explain things for those interested.
Okay. Anything else?
We have our
For
workshop.
mature business.
No, that's okay.
I think Luke did a good job in recapping our planning and zoning board meeting last night, the public forum meeting, our public hearing meeting, and that was well attended. There, I don't know how many were there, probably, what would you say?
I'd say a good 30, I'd say initially,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good turnout. All right, any new business then? Any new business? Any new business? How about anything for the open? We will be in Pierre Wednesday and Thursday of this week for our spring conference.
Could be a quorum of, will
Be a
probably
quorum
be a
there.
quorum of commissioners.
Anything else?
No.
I'm not seeing anything else that there could be a quorum of commissioners at.
I had one last
Okay, what's that?
piece of old business, Mr. Chairman, sorry. On the Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group, we had a meeting on Thursday last week.
Yep.
That was continuing the discussion on the process, how a person with mental illness that ends up in the justice system. So we're gradually working through mapping out all the different places with it, as things happen now in the justice system, and then also looking at those places where we might, as a community, impact upon that. So that discussion continues, and so probably the biggest thing, and this is that we discussed, would be getting some of that information about the mental condition of an inmate that might have an issue to the judge earlier in the process. So, and that gives the judge the maximum opportunity to make a decision, perhaps where the person might not have to be in jail, at least not as, or be put out on some kind of a bond condition, if the situation warrants that. So that's kind of looking at things like that, better information flow to help the process work, and to keep the jail population under control as much as possible. And so that's a long process. So that's going to go on, but that's just to report back on that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And keeping track of the individuals and keep them on track too. That was another
Yeah,
discussion of
yeah.
that too.
Yeah. So how do accountability all this?
Anything else for the open? We have two requests for executive session. Commissioner Van Duzen would like one to discuss personnel issues, which is number one. And Becky,
Number 3.
number three is continue
We'll
with
make
legal
a
counsel.
motion that we go into executive
We have
session.
a motion to go into executive session. Is there a second? Second by Gable. Motion by Hanton. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are now in executive session.
The only action, Mr. Chairman,
The-
the presentation from the insurance company.
Yes, the only action would be the presentation by that Prudential. And that's, yeah, there won't be any action there.